Hello and welcome to a new adventure, and we're back here today in Liverpool, and we're here to look at something rather special because we're going to be going down below into the Mersey Tunnel and a behind the scenes tour. We're going to be starting our tour here at the George's Dock building, which is right down on Liverpool's waterfront, not far from the Liver building. The Mersey Tunnel, or the Queensway Tunnel as it's officially known, opened on the 18th of July 1934 by King George V, the Queen's grandfather. At the time, it was one of the largest engineering projects ever known, and it opened as the longest road tunnel in the world. The first tunnel under the River Mersey was for the Mersey Railway in 1886, and plans for a crossing on the Mersey were mooted as far back as 1825. Built at a cost of £8 million, 9 years of construction, 1,700 workers and 17 deaths. The tunnel was finally able to carry traffic under the Mersey, and at the time it was known as the eighth wonder of the world. It was so well used up to the 1960s that they had to build a second tunnel to relieve the congestion, known as the Kingsway Tunnel, that opened in 1971. The Queensway Tunnel is just over 2 miles long and contains a single carriageway of 4 lanes, 2 in each direction. There is even a lower deck of a similar size in the bottom half of the tunnel, as you will see when we go below ground. This was originally proposed to carry an electric tramway through the tunnel, but as you will see, this never happened. To start the construction in 1925, 2 200-foot shafts were dug at both sides of the Mersey. One under what would be George's Dock ventilation building on the Liverpool side, and one under the Woodside ventilation building on the Birkenhead side. A pilot tunnel was then dug in each direction towards each other under the river, and finally they met on the 4th of April in 1928, just 2.5 centimetres out of alignment, using this axe to break through, as displayed in the museum. And here is the first piece of rock that fell to the ground during the breakthrough, and wrapped in this accompanying handkerchief. The tunnel is built under approximately 20 foot of bedrock, as can be seen here as a dotted line on the diagram. Even though they had broken through, they still hadn't quite decided where the tunnel exits and entrances would be. Various council and landowners' disagreements later, they finally decided to have 2 separate entrances and exits on either side. Other than the main portals on each side of the river, it also has 2 dock branches that were built for goods traffic. One on the Birkenhead side at Rendell Street and one on the Liverpool side opposite the Liver building. As the docks closed and the tunnel became congested, these branches were closed as 2-way traffic tunnels. The Birkenhead branch tunnel closed to all traffic in 1965 and still remains as a service road access. And the Liverpool branch was closed to inbound traffic and now only serves as an exit tunnel. They were known to cause long tailbacks in the tunnel as cars were stationary waiting to cross oncoming traffic. The tunnel flows much more freely since their removal, and the newer Kingsway Tunnel now services their needs. The tunnel would be cleaned on a nightly basis by a team of cleaners who would use a mop and bucket to wash down the walls of the tunnel. This was abolished in the 1980s when the tunnel lining was replaced. During the construction, other similar road tunnels around the world were having issues with ventilation and problems with carbon monoxide poisoning. So further money was requested to build a further 4 ventilation stations along the route. These are located at Fazakerley Street and North John Street on the Liverpool side, and Sydney Street and Taylor Street on the Birkenhead side. All designed in an Art Deco style by architect Herbert Rouse, along with the tunnel portals. These are all now Grade 2 listed. Over the years, the tunnel has featured in many blockbuster movies, from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows to a chase scene in Fast and Furious 6. Toll booths were also installed on all entrances and exits to the tunnel, with a promise that tolls would be removed when the tunnel debt was repaid. However, this never happened, and they still charge a toll for both tunnels today. Now, just behind me, as you can see, is one of the original toll booths for the Mersey Tunnel, dating all the way back to when it opened in the 1930s. Still sporting the original colours, so I'm told, but it's been moved down here now to just outside the George's Dock building. So this is the George's Dock building, which you may recognise if you've been down to the waterfront in Liverpool. But it's not just any old building. It does house their head office, but it's also a vent for the Mersey Tunnel, which starts probably a mile inland just up here and heads down under the Mersey just behind me. Now, as I'm walking around the building, just waiting for the tour, I've just been looking at the amazing architecture on this building. It is very, very Art Deco. I mean, it would be 1930s. But just look at some of this. Some of the amazing Art Deco statues there. And even down to the designs on the doorways. All original. And I'll just pan you up there to see this very Art Deco sculpture on the top here. Even down to these amazing Art Deco lampposts. Now just check those out. They are absolutely amazing. Again, two more of those great Art Deco lamps here, right on the front of the building. So this over here, again, right outside the George's Dock building, is the original bore shaft that they dug down to build the tunnel. So they would have dug down from here, straight down to the tunnel level, and then dug out the tunnel in that direction and in this direction. And the same on the Birkenhead side. They then met in the middle, right in the centre of the river. A bit like the Channel Tunnel, where they broke through on both sides from Birkenhead to here. Now that, like I said, is the original shaft that they used. I believe today it is a staircase. So underneath there they've got stairs going down it, which they use now to access the actual tunnel below. I've got a bit of a surprise. I didn't expect this at all. But we've just headed into this room where we're going to make our way down. But look at this. This is part of the original Liverpool dock, hidden underground, all filled in, now part of the George's Dock building. That's amazing. You see some concrete above us here, but you can see the original dock walls. Oh, look at this. There you go, look at that.
The post is where the sailing ship's tied up.
Oh, bloody hell, that's amazing. So, you can see the original stonework on the far side. I'll zoom in for you. And then she just said there, look, one of the original wooden posts that ships from the 1700s would have tied up to. 1778, you say?
1771.
1771, even older than that. But look at that stonework there. Again, they built things to last back then. And as you can tell, it's still here and still in immaculate condition, just hidden beneath Liverpool's waterfront now, which is so amazing to see. I'll just poke you around here just so you can see a bit more. There you go, so a little culvert through to take some of the pressure off there. Let's head further in. You can see the concrete roof there, which is dripping. Okay, so we've got a picture here from 1907, and this shows what it looked like back then in 1907. So right there you've got the Port of Liverpool building. Here would be the Cunard building, and here would be the Liver building that everyone knows today, or the Royal Liver. And we are right here. So this is where they built the George's Dock building that we're in now, for the giant turbine here, or the vent for the tunnel. And as you can see, a bit of construction work going on there. But we are currently in this shaft here, or this little dock building at the side. So you can see what used to be here, but now obviously all the buildings are built on top and it's all covered over. But we're in the original part and in that first pier there. And again, I'll just show you up. You can see. So we've got another hole in the wall. Just check this out. So this is beyond the dock wall. So here we go. This is underneath the Cunard building as we know it today. There's the foundations for the building. You can hear the air moving around. Got a bit of fauna growing through the dockside here, underground. So weird that, isn't it? So we have another little hole here in the dock wall, and now we're going to show you a little experiment in a minute, but if you just look in there, and I'll zoom in for you, you can see all the way down towards the waterfront down there in the dock. You can see the continuous holes all the way through the old dock walls there and right down towards the seafront. It's not the seafront, is it? Riverside.
Yes, there are arches, 15 arches.
So there are 15 arches all the way through here down towards the River Mersey. And did you say there's water down there?
Yes, which is the Mersey.
So you've got the actual Mersey just down here. Did you say 40 feet down?
It's about 30, 40 feet. Yeah.
30 or 40 feet down. So we're going to chuck this rope, which has got a weight on the end just there. She's going to throw it through the hole and hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll keep quiet for you, we're going to hear a splash. Are you ready? Definitely heard that. So there you go, there's the splash.
And it is salt water.
And it's salt water down there from the River Mersey.
Pool.
So you could actually go for a dip in there, but I wouldn't suggest doing it. Is it wet?
Yep.
Yep, it's wet. So there you go, you can see. We just threw that down there. But how strange is that looking in there? That's weird. So there you go. This is Underwater Street, and you can see the water there pooling underneath these chambers that the buildings are sat on now as foundations. You can clearly see the water in there from the River Mersey. And again, that same picture that we saw earlier on. So we, like I said, we are in this one here, and we were looking up there towards the River Mersey. We've got some stalactites up there as well on the roof, and a little, she just said a little ecosystem in here. As you can see, we've got the plants over in the corner growing away, and also down here, we've got the stalagmites growing upwards.
Which if you look over to your left.
So just here we've got a bit of a running joke. So it's what they tell the children on the tour is a liver bird nest, because the stalactite, or sorry, stalagmite, I'll get it right. The stalagmite in the middle looks like a fried egg. Now she just said it is made up. The reason it's two different colours is because the white is from the salt in the Mersey, coming from the sea, and then the yellow in the middle is the rust. So there's obviously some metal underneath there, or some kind of properties. So that's why you've got two different colours, and they've just put some eggs around it for a joke, just to tell the kids that it's a liver bird nest. Why not? There you go. An actual measuring device to see if there's been any movement between the original stonework, or what looks like concrete foundation here, and the newer part up here. So they put this join here, and if it breaks, they know there's been movement. So one last look at this amazing room before we head on. Yeah, I wasn't expecting this as part of the tour. Do you do this as part of the tour?
Yes.
So there you go. If you come on the tour, the official tour, you'll get to see this room as well. Very fascinating.
And into our control room. Now defunct.
So we're inside the control room, or should I say, the former control room at the Mersey Tunnel. So she said it was last used here probably 15 years ago. It's now all modern and automated, as you would imagine. But in here you can see the original panel down here, and all the old switches for the electrics and things in here in the tunnel, the ventilation, the fans, lighting, bit of everything in here. This is so stuck in time in here, it's amazing. It's like a time capsule. Looks very 1930s, 1950s in here. But you can see the huge old desk here with all these buttons and switches on. You can see they've got pumps here for obviously the water drainage, lighting control, some old blueprints there, fire alarms, some logbooks, and then on the wall here we've got it's split up into the streets, or where the ventilation shafts are. You can see Woodside, which I know is on the other side at Birkenhead, and then George's Dock, which is where we are now, and all the gauges and dials and switches. So as you know today, the tunnel is for road traffic. Now, it was always designed to carry road traffic, but a lot of you might not know it was also designed, because it was built in the 1930s, and it was actually planned much, much earlier than that. It was also planned that they were going to run a tramway through it as well, on the lower deck underneath, which hopefully we'll see soon. But if you just look at this model behind me, this is a model of one of the 1901 trams that would have probably run through the tunnel on the lower deck below the traffic where it runs today. But a typical standard tram, as I would call it, from the early 1900s. Yeah, these could have been shuttling back and forth underneath the road tunnel as it is today, in the vent shaft that they use today. Now, I've just been told as well, the reason they never actually got as far as running trams through the tunnel was because it would have been competition back in the day for the Mersey ferries. So it would have taken a lot of their business away. So they settled on having a road tunnel, but no trams. They've just been speculating with Alison. Obviously this electric panel here is split into the various vents along the tunnel. So you've got Sydney Street, Woodside, George's Dock where we are now, and then North John Street over there. But we were just speculating, if you look at the colours, so the dials at the top have got the red lines, and everything below it has got blue lines. Now I've just speculated, is this everything above ground that's in red, and everything below the waterline in blue? And she actually doesn't know, but I may have opened a can of worms there, it could possibly be that. So we've just discovered this old photograph here, which shows this very room and what it used to look like pre-World War II and the early days of the tunnel opening. Now, you just look at that window at the top in the roof there, you can see that in here today. It's still up there. Now, we've just been told as well, I did say a minute ago I thought that this was 1950s. Well, that is correct. Basically, this part of the building was bombed in World War II, and it damaged all this control room here. So what you're seeing today is what used to be on that picture there, and this is what it ended up being in the 1950s. So all this is from the 1950s. So they pressed the help points in the tunnel in different sections, and they're all numbered here, as you can see. And then it would flash on here that somebody required help in the tunnel, a bit like the AA phone boxes that you get on the motorway today. This would have indicated to them where the help was needed. I'm just saying, I don't know if you can see that, but you've still got power on these lights here. She was just saying it's all decommissioned, but occasionally you get the old light up.
Yes.
So there's obviously something feeding it somewhere, but it's not actually in use.
So there's two different ways we deal with fire in the two tunnels. In Kingsway it's a much taller tunnel, so we've got jet fans in the ceiling. So in that one they would have got an alarm in this room. It lights up where it's sensing the smoke or flames, and then all they had to do was hit the buttons, and it's jet fans in the ceiling which will push the smoke and fumes along the ceiling. We haven't got that headspace in Queensway Tunnel, in the older tunnel, because if you put jet fans up there you'd be wearing one on your lap if you're on a double-decker bus. So with that one we have to use the really big exhaust fans and fresh air fans, and it's all worked out which ones go on and which ones go off. So basically the exhaust fans drag all smoke and fumes out through the chimney, tallest part of the building, and fresh air is turned on towards the seat of the fire to move the smoke so the fire brigade can get in.
You can see there the Mersey Queensway Tunnel, which is obviously the other Mersey Tunnel, the newer one. So here's inside one of those cabinets, all the switches and the lights and the buttons, etc. You can see all the circuitry down here, all very 1950s. You can see Got this retro phone. I used to have one similar to that when I was a kid, a green one. The rotary dial.
Find phone numbers.
And you put your phone numbers under there.
Who are you then?
Ronnie Pickering!
Oh,
Ronnie Pickering!
oh.
Ronnie Pickering!
Join me in the next episode where we venture beyond the airlocked doors and into the giant belly of the building, looking at the ventilation system and down some very deep dark shafts. Missus. See you in the next one.